How you all doing, guys? Brandon here. Welcome back to Retrospect, your go-to retro gaming podcast. And this is probably one of my favorite episodes yet. We had the opportunity to talk with the entire team behind Pog. If you're a 90s kids like me, you will know that Pog was a massive social game back in the day. It was on the same level as Pokemon and Go-Go Crazy Bones, and now they're back in a more collectible form factor, I will admit, but still having its very social collectible charm. And we have the opportunity to talk with the team. So sit back, relax, enjoy the conversation with me, Seb, and the Pog crew, alongside what they're doing, how they're building it, and what their plans are in the future for Pog and Pog Digital. If you enjoy this podcast as well and want to support us further, you can do over on Patreon. Without further ado, let's jump into the podcast. I think we just kick it off with maybe an introduction into each of you and your roles at Pog, if possible. If Kyler, you want to start that, no rush.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough, my name's Kyler Frisbee, lucky enough to have partnered with Julian to get to bring the Pog world to the digital side. So our business is building out digital collectibles, games, and kind of expanding the Pog universe into the internet side.
Nice. Brent?
Yeah, I'm Brent Scotchmer. I am an illustrator from Perth, Western Australia. I've worked for big trading card companies like Topps and Upper Deck, and worked on franchises like Star Wars and the Garbage Pail Kids and The Walking Dead. And about 3 years ago, I was brought over by the Pog team to help build assets for their video game platform and their digital collectibles, and also their physical collectibles. Pogs and Slammers back in real life for the first time in a long time.
Yes. Natalie?
Hey everyone, I'm Natalie Payton. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm heading up the Hobby Box marketing, the first launch back into the ether for Pogs in the first time in 30 years. I come from a toy marketing and social media marketing background, and also have a toy brand of my own, not a toy brand, a child's podcast brand of my own. So
Awesome.
Happy to be here on the team.
Yeah, thanks for joining. And Julian?
Yes, hi, I'm Julian, and I'm the owner of Pog Unlimited. I acquired this company back in December 19, and with a strategy and with a strong will to bring Pog back in every forms. So we do cardboard, and we do digital, and we will do probably, and we what is very important to us is also to bring the Pogman character back in people's mind and in the kids' mind, and through probably entertainment.
I think Pogman stayed in our brains since we were children every day until now. It's wild. Having you guys on, this is amazing for me and Brandon, who are 90s kids through and through. So, this is our business is Pokemon, Nintendo, Go-Go's Crazy Bones, Pogs, all those kind of things. We live and breathe it every day. So to have you guys from all over the world joining us for this podcast is amazing. I wonder if you could nominate. I do feel like I'm on a quiz, Brandon. This is ace. I feel like we've got our own panel show, and I'm loving every second of this. If you could nominate somebody to just give the listeners and the Retro Dodo community, if they haven't heard about Pogs and how Pogs started, like how Pogs first became about and their kind of initial applications, and like a brief evolution of the World Pog Federation and Pog Unlimited. I don't know how you want to divvy it up between you guys, if you all want to take it in turns to give a little bit of information, or I'll leave that to you.
Well, at the very beginning, Pog was a gameplay that was invented by kids. It was invented by kids from Hawaii, and they were actually upcycling their milk bottle, because like every American kids, they were delivered a bottle of milk, like a glass bottle of milk, every morning on their doorstep. And they had this idea of tearing off the cardboard disc that was inside the metal cap, and there was a milk dairy logo on this cardboard disc, and they were collecting the dairy logo, and then they invented the gameplay. So at that time, the slammer was the metal cap, and the pods were that cardboard disc. And that was in the 30s, back in the 30s in Hawaii. And and I think there was a large Japanese community over there. And I mean, the gameplay as itself was invented there. And it has something to do with the Menko. Menko is an endemic game from Japan back in the 19th century. So I think, and probably because there was a Japanese community in Hawaii as well, there is something like that. But it was like a game. It was a gambling as well, because that the gameplay that we all love, which is basically that you can lose your game, was invented there. And then back in the 50s, we had still in Hawaii a marketing executive who had to launch. He was working for a dairy, and he had to launch a mixed fruit juice made of passion fruits like pea, orange like O, and guava, so like G. And then and his aim was to launch his brand, like Pog, the Pog brand, the Pog juice. And he remembered that back in the 30s, he was playing as a kid that game. So he decided to create like a character, like the ancestor of Pugman, and to print a collection of that Pugman on the back of his bottle cap. So it was like a free inside game, and they relaunched the game through that. And at that time, it was a great success in Hawaii and in the south of the USA, I would say. And and then the gameplay that was called the milk cap game became generically called the Pog game. But the brand was owned by this milk dairy. And then in the 90s, Alan Ripinski, a seasoned entrepreneur from California, came to Hawaii for some holidays, and he started dating a school teacher, actually. And the school teacher, she was using in her class room the pop from her youth when she was a kid in the 50s. And this guy was just he was a trading card collector, and he discovered the gameplay with his girlfriend, and then he understood the gameplay, and since he was also a gambler, he loved the gameplay, and he had that brilliant idea to mix these two characters, so a Pog gameplay and to market that gameplay, that game into sealed pouches, and to develop collection, and to sell the Pog game as a collectible. And he came back to the US. He made a deal with the dairy whereby he acquired the Pog brand, and he launched in '93 Pog as the first ever collectible game, which was the case because Magic came later, like 96, 97. The Pokemon came back in 96. So he did that. And what they did is they did like very much of a guerrilla marketing. So they just blast everything. They were distributing Pogs at the entrance of Disney World in Los Angeles or in school, and with this very they were very bold at that time, And well, it started the craze. And between 94 and 98, Pog Unlimited sold 10 billion Pogs within 30 countries.
Wow.
And,
Damn.
10 billion.
10 billion. And they created that. I mean, they developed the character, like the Pogman character, with very brilliant illustrators. And then they also had that idea of developing, Pog series with many cartoons characters, movie characters like Pocahontas, Barbie, also the NFL, the NHL, with podcasts.
Would you say the trademarks and the collaborations is what really kicked off the collectible side to the product?
Oh, probably because I mean the Pogman. My understanding is that there were only 3 collection, like full collection of Pogman. So yeah, absolutely. And what was interesting, it was a double side business. It was a collectible that you can acquire in convenience stores, but it was also a game that you could find inserted in your pack of cereals, or it was also
Crisps.
it was also like a premium and a collectible.
I think me and Brandon have probably choked on a couple of Pogs whilst eating crisps and cereal in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah. Oh wow, a slammer. Awesome. Yeah. We're still here. We survived, so that's fine. Okay, so I guess you just talked about so many. I mean, how many billions of Pogs? 10 billion Pogs.
10 billion. Yeah.
10 billion. So what are the different kinds of Pogs? Somebody tell us a little bit more about the individual Pogs and like the. I mean, we'll have a lot of listeners who who won't have actually. They might have seen them, but they won't have played the game. So, a little bit about the different pieces and like how the game happens, how it works. Like, let's try and kind of like, for the people who are just listening, let's just and haven't experienced it, kind of create that the feel that me and Brandon had when we were kids playing this game, and like the feel that you guys have obviously, I'm assuming, have when you must play every time you get together, right? You must have virtual tournaments and stuff. Everyone's nodding and looking a little bit vague, but.
Yeah, well, Kyla, I'll take that. Yeah, the as far as like playing the game today as well, like I wasn't a player of Pog. I was more just a pure collector. I was been a trading card collector since I was like 6 years old. So, playing Pogs was like I couldn't do it because I didn't want anyone to like chip or dent, my precious Pogs and stuff, especially the foil one.
I feel that.
And that's part of like where, what Kyla is doing with Pog Digital is so good, is because you can slam the hell out of these Pogs and they're not going to get, you're not going to damage your collection. But I remember Pogs had, you had the collections like the Pog Puri collection, but they did a lot of collabs, like just before we started this, like Kyla was showing, collaborations with Barbie and Kool-Aid and Disneyland and you name it, anything that was big in the day, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, all kinds of things, right? So I think to me, and probably to a lot of people, that's where Pogs probably entered their world, is through just everyday items that we weren't asking for Pogs, but we got Pogs. Like you said, it came in a box of cereal, or it came with a Barbie doll, or you went to Disneyland and you got like a thing or something, right? So, I mean, that's a big part of Pogs history, is this sort of the collaboration aspect, and like when it comes to playing the game, like, yeah, you're going to be separated between the people who want to really play to either complete their collection or to take someone else's Pogs, or if you're going to just purely collect them for the artwork, like someone like I did. Yeah.
Do you work with a bunch of different artists? Is there like unique collaborations, and what's the process now with Pogs in the art? Because obviously you have to kind of stick to a certain level of nostalgic design with Pogman and stuff. Is there anything different moving forward with art?
That's a very tricky question. At that time, we had a designer in the US, and the designer was providing from the US, and mainly the company, like the licensee, like Wellington in the UK, or were taking the artwork from the US. There is something I must mention. My father was the licensee for Pog in France and Spain and Italy at that time. So I didn't play Pog, but I was graduating from a business school at that time. So when I came back on the weekend, I experienced that craze from the inside. And actually, my father had an art background, and he had a very good friend of him, and he created a lot of Pog from this time, and because in France the market was so dynamic that they had to create more than the US could provide, and It was from the beginning. It was my aim to kind of find the illustrator who would be able to create and to get that pop 90's kind of draw. Mm-hmm. And I would say that when we started, Kyler was desperate to find some artwork, because to feed the beast of Twitter and to make sure that he had enough stuff. And one day he called me and he said, I've got a guy, he's doing very good draws, and I was a little bit skeptical at that time. And he said, he's living in Perth. I was even more skeptical. And one day we had a call. It was 6 a.m. in the morning, and then we get. He introduced me to Brent, and I think Kyler was brilliant, because actually Brent, when he showed us his artwork, it was the great. That was exactly what we were doing. Brent understood from probably his child out years, and maybe he started to draw with Pogman, but he understood exactly what Pogman is as a character. He's not kawaii at all. I would say he's more like the contrary. He's a little bit stinky. He's a little bit, double-sided, and that's what we love. And so we were extremely fortunate to meet Brent as a team. It was just great.
I remember as a kid, like, we used to see the art. Sorry, Ben, I was just saying the artwork of Pogman as a kid. I used to look at them and think, like, this is madness. Like, this guy is just like, he's doing some incredibly weird stuff, and I used to like love it. We just pick it out and be like, I don't understand. Like, are you kind of getting into that mindset when you're doing these new designs, and like when you're thinking, are you just sort of thinking, how can I top what I saw as a kid, or are you kind of just keeping in that line of, let's just keep this level of weirdness? Like, how do you get into the mindset of a character like Pogman when you're doing these kind of different designs? And is that a dangerous thing for you to be doing?
Yeah, well, look, I was so lucky in that, like, when it was all kind of official and I was brought on, is that I said to Kyler, like, what have we got? Like, what have we got as far as like assets go? And Kyler goes, well, I'll give you this. And he gave me this massive, like, either a dry Google link or like a zip file or something. And it was just hundreds and hundreds of pencil drawings of Pogman that at the time maybe had never been used. And I was, as a collector, as like someone who has just,
the jackpot.
You guys, that's right, and you guys know, right? You guys know that, like, when you get to see something that not many people have seen, you're just like, oh, this is so great. So, like, I'm so fortunate in that, like, what I actually have is I have Pogman almost as a puzzle piece. So because he's such a simple kind of built guy, I have his body in all different in different configurations, and I have his arms and legs in all different kinds of poses. And so the best part of it for me is that I get to go, like, say someone like Kyla would go, hey, we need Pogman doing something that we haven't seen him do before. And then I get to go through all these files and just go, cool, well, I'm going to steal that arm, that left arm, that right arm. I'm going to steal this leg in this position and this body, and then I'm going to move his eyes, and I'm going to do all these things. And I get to essentially just build. Like, every time I do something with Pogman, it's like a Build-A-Bear. Like, I get to build Pogman from the ground up using these.
That's so cool.
We're so lucky. So, like, everything that you see, well, not everything, some stuff I do is 100% original, but a lot of what you see that we do with Pogman is actually literally derived from an illustration that may have been done in the 90s, but no one's seen it before. So I get to pull it in, clean it up, make it nice and smooth and crisp and clean, and make sure all the colors are correct, and make it sort of not so scratchy, sketchy, and more, kind of polished. And that's one of the best parts about what I do is that I get to, nothing went to waste. I have an incredible archive that I kind of safeguard, that I can pull from anytime we need. And so it does two things for me. One, it means that, like, I don't have to spend a lot of prep time when I do a piece of artwork. It means I can turn things around really quick. And I think part of what makes me valuable to these guys as a team is that, like, I'm a very fast worker, so I can turn things around super quick. We've had situations where, we've said, like, we need Pogman using a cell phone to try and get across the idea that we're doing this thing. And the fact that I can turn that around in a couple of hours is really valuable. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have this, like, incredible kind of, like, vault of historical Pogman stuff. So, yeah, really, like, privileged to be able to do it. I've said on other interviews and stuff that, like, my job essentially is to protect the character, like to make sure that, like, he stays in that 90s feel, that we don't try to do anything too wacky with him. We're not trying to, like, make him into, like, this 3D claymation thing or whatever just yet. Like, it's for the Pogs themselves and stuff. We want it to just feel like you're in 2024 and you're playing the video game, or you're opening a pack of Pogs, and it looks just like it looked in the 90s, and it should have that feel. Even if we got Pogman doing modern things, it should still kind of have that 90s feel. And my history working with trading card companies and licenses and stuff gives me the skill to be able to, like, navigate the lines between what isn't and isn't acceptable. And I'm lucky. Julian is very open with Pogman. He's just like, don't worry, he's cheeky, he's dirty, he's kind of like, he can show his bare butt. He can do a few things that, like, maybe, like, if I was doing Mickey Mouse, they'd be like, no way.
No butt cheeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas I get to do some of those things with Pogman that just gives a bit of freedom.
What is the goal of the hobby box? What's new? What's exciting? And why should people snag one when it comes out in... I don't even know when it comes out. This month? Is it this month?
This is Natalie's world all over, I guess, isn't it?
Absolutely.
This is what you've been living and breathing.
Sorry, 94, 24, 30 years. So with this hobby box, we are celebrating like a kind of 30 years jubilee of Pog, and we wanted to do something not for kids, but for adults, for Poggers, and we wanted to give as much value as we could to collectors and to players. And Brent is going to describe the box, but really our aim here is to launch a box, make it highly collectible, and make it like a real collectible. So Pog was not a hobby business back in the 90s. It was a kid's business. If one day we launch, and we will do that. But when we will launch that, the Pog as a kids business, it means that Pogman will be on screen. But that will come together. Right now, and since being on a production production company and being on Swing Tech Times, right now we prefer to say, all right, okay, now we're gonna serve the nostalgics, Pogs nostalgic, and start and so it's a kind of it's an anniversary, but it's also a way to create that nostalgia effect among people, and making every and yes, and playing and collecting with serious hobby collecting business, like like for hobby collectors. Brent?
All right, yeah, sure. So the hobby box is like you guys said you deal with Pokemon stuff, right? So have either of you recently sort of bought like a traditional trading card product, like either sports or non-sports, like something Star Wars or Garbage Pail?
Yeah, I've got so much stuff. I've got Pokemon marbles. I've got Go-Go Crazy Bones. I've got handhelds. What else have I got? I've just got stuff coming out my ass, in all honesty, Brent. It's just too much.
So the way that the hobby box worked is we wanted Pog for the first time to be treated the same way that people would buy like a box of baseball cards, right? So people buy, or Star Wars or whatever it is that it's not just the cards with the images on it. There are real value things that you can find in it. And so just like you might find like a short printed numbered parallel of a card, or in a Pokemon world, like a shiny version or something, or an alternate artwork sort of version of something. We wanted to, for the first time, because the average collector for Pog is sort of like, well, I'm 40, just over 40. So, when I'm buying these sort of things, I'm like, well, what's in it for me? I know what's in it for my kids, and I know what's in it for playing the game, but what's in it for me, So we started brainstorming these ideas, all us together, me, Julian, and Kyla, about, what would make this attractive to like the serious collector. And so we started to come up with things like definitely short printed parallels. There are Pogs in these boxes that you can find where only 99 of them were printed. And so that instantly gives you some sort of rarity, something that you can hold on to, something that you wouldn't play with, definitely wouldn't let your kids touch it, or you hand it down to them, or you send it off for grading, or whatever it is, right? So we have short printed parallels in a gold, a red, and a green version. Those are seriously numbered. We have limited numbered mini posters. Back in the 80s and stuff, if you bought a box of like a wax box of trading cards from back in the day, there would be a little poster that was folded up on the top of the box that the store would use to put in the window to say, sold here. And one of the first things I wanted to do, because I love those so much, was to go like, we should do these little mini posters in the top so that like you can hang it up in your frame. And those are all limited numbered as well. We don't not only have the regular plastic slammers that, everyone knows and loves, but we also have like these metal slammers, and they're heavy. They're really heavy, and they're beautiful, shiny, almost like a chrome finish. And they come on their own blister board. So they come ready to display on a shelf just straight out of the box. And those
are
cool. Amazing, right? Like, and this is the kid in the candy store thing for me, is the ability to build, rather than me buying boxes of collectibles and sort of like going, what a great idea. Like, we got to have the great ideas of like what we're going to include. And the top parts of that box are digital collectibles. So part of, the digital collectibles and the video game that Kyla is building, and I'm sure he'll touch on that quite a bit, which is really exciting. And then and the gold leafed slammer as well. So there are slammers there are only 430 of these things. They're a heavy, solid metal slammer that has been carefully coated in there. Natalie's holding one up
Natalie's gone.
in a 22 karat gold leaf. And that leafing is done by one of the top gilders in Europe. She works with royalty. She works in like historical places, anything that's like priceless and timeless. She's probably worked on it. And just like priceless and timeless, Pogs as well. So we've really like been able to have some fun with it. The images on the Pogs are, because this was the first release in a long time, they pay homage to the classic stuff. There are images of Pogman in here that you definitely will have seen before, except this is the first time they've been printed, in a very long time. You're also going to see images that you've probably never seen before. They may have been used in a very small European release, as Julian said, that they had a longer life in Europe than they did in the US. Some of them I did some edits on, added some textures and some other things to them. So it's kind of some of the same for nostalgia purpose, and then some edited and different stuff as well. But with the ability to have these sort of these bonuses thrown in. So it pretty much everything in this box is numbered except for the base Pogs. The boxes are numbered, the posters are numbered, all the limited editions. So you can guarantee yourself that in every single box that you open, you're going to be able to pull something out of this box that is unique to you. So even if you pull out a green slammer and that slammer is number 189 out of 499 or whatever the number is, that you're the only one with that. That's just creating something that just gives you that feeling like you've got ownership of the box and that you've got holding something in your hands that's truly rare.
Man, I've got one of these waiting in customs, and every time you're talking to me about this, I'm just like, will this delivery hurry up? Because like the more you're saying about this, the more I'm like, I just want this to come through my door now, so I can just stop this podcast and go and open it and start playing. It's like, it sounds amazing.
Well, you know what, we wouldn't be able. The product wouldn't be, we wouldn't be kind of meeting in all corners of the earth, all the time and flying around the place and running and helping run tournaments and doing all of these things if we didn't truly really care about it. This isn't just like, this isn't someone who picked up the licensing rights for Pog and just thought, this is a quick way to, like this it's not like that. Like we're talking about hand-picked people. Kyler is the perfect age to bring Pog with his technology background and stuff to be able to bring Pog into that ecosystem. I found Kyler and he kind of found me through social media channels, and then I turned out to be the 90s kid who was able to come in and understand how the look needed to be, and then the same when it comes to Natalie and the other team members that, are not here today. Just people have a true like affinity for 90s nostalgia. The whole thing, like everyone in this team is passionate about the era, and everything that went along with the era. When Natalie first came on board and, I had to, we had to call and introduce ourselves and stuff. What was supposed to be a 10-minute intro was just like, it was a 2.5-hour phone call about like dragging up old 90s ads for Sega and Nintendo consoles and just going like, how do we make this into the advertisements for this Pog product? We want it to be like aggressive, and it just made me go through like these old like Mean Machine magazines and stuff, like finding ads for like Sega Genesis games that were just like crazy. You couldn't get away with what they were saying today, and just every single part of this along the way has just been really fun, and I hope it shows through.
In that box, what we wanted to bring value to the collector and to our pod fans. They haven't seen Pogs for years. Now they're grown up. They have a little bit of money, and they can just realize the dream that they had, meaning buying the old retailer box. So the old box from the retail, but not like in the casual hobby bay fashion where you put a number on a box, but you don't know how many boxes are printed. So you're sure that your box is unique, but maybe it's unique out of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever, because the manufacturer keeps the possibility to reprint discreetly if the product is great. We don't do that. We don't do that because we are not a big corp. We are just passionate people. So when we say we do 5,100 bucks, we print a number out of 500, 1,000, and we won't do more. And when we do like a gold kidney, we go to some real craft woman, and she does everything by hand. So it's a real 22 karat gold leaf slammer. And of course, this box is also an introduction to the Web3 ecosystem that we are building with Pog Digital. And it's an introduction, it's a cool intro for people who are not Web3 collectors, because as an insert, as a rare insert, they will have like a blister, but and in the blister, if they tear the blister off, they will get like an additional plastic kidney, but the plastic kidney is a gift, but is a gift that is meant to cover a unique number that will allow the pogger to mint his own collectible. And so to get that free digital collectible that he will be playing with. So, and then he will discover the game, the digital game. He will start his collection. And if he's not interested because he doesn't know anything about Web3 and he doesn't want to know anything about Web3, maybe he's already old, being a 90s kid. But he can. We are sure that by reselling it, like reselling the blister pack on eBay, will be great. We also made Color on Brand. We had that meeting, like that founding meeting where we decided to do that box, and really the baseline was what okay, we do a hobby stuff, but make sure that in few months or year from now, this box will be like a hit on the secondary market. If you look at the box, if you try to buy a sealed box of Pog today, like a sealed box of Pog from the 90s, you will find some box from 250 to 700 US dollars. I mean, that's wow. I mean, that's check. You can go on eBay
for now.
Sealed box, and that's the price today. So. And for boxes that have been printed in millions boxes. So now we have 5,000 boxes. Okay, that's it.
How, I guess this might be a question for you, Natalie. How are you going to market this whole brand? Because as a 90s kid, I feel quite overwhelmed with the amount of nostalgia that's came out over the recent years. That you got Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, Pokemon. You've got all of the Sega movies now, the Nintendo movies. Like every character seems to be coming out and fighting for all of our attention. How is Pogman going to get his dirty little hands into our brains, so to speak?
And his bare butt, apparently, by the sound of it.
There you go. I'll start by just talking about the hobby box, and we've been incredibly impressed with the amount of creators that have come out of the woodworks to get in touch with us. Like, I've never been one of those girls who got slid into her DMs, but the amount of DMs that are being slid into the Pod Game official accounts with really excited fans.
We were one of them.
You were.
Yeah, she's talking about us, Brandon. She's basically talking about us. I know it.
It worked out really well.
Don't tell my girlfriend.
I know. I'm always like reading. DMs. But what's so cool is that what we're investing in right now is relationships with people like you all, with retro brands, with passionate people in the community. I think one of the questions was about like, how did we come about getting an event with Retro Rick? And he was on my list of somebody that I wanted to reach out to, but he slid into the DMs. And so I thought, you know what? He put his cell phone number. Let me just give him a call. So I did, and I said, "Hi, this is Natalie Payton from Pogs." And he's like, "What? I've never heard that phrase of Pogs." Like,
Yeah.
and he lost it, and he was so excited. And we really clicked immediately. He's a really good man, and together as a team, we figured out a way to launch the first World Pog sanctioned federation, World Pog Champs, in Conway, Arkansas at Retrofest. So that's happening. It'll be the first of hopefully many. But among that, there's been so many other creators who are bringing their own take for when they receive a hobby box from us. They're creating pieces of content. You've got people like Weird Paul, who has his own take of nostalgia, like almost as if he's recording in an 80s camcorder. But you asked how we're going to re-enter the IP. I think that's what you were sort of asking. And that's more of a Julian question. He's been hard at work, and people are excited to chat with him about that.
You've also been doing the stuff on the Instagram, though, right? You've been kind of connecting with old and new Pog fans on social media. Like, how have you found that? Like, I think I've seen you on a Pogs mat in a car park, sort of throwing slammers down. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Do we have like I don't know what it is in centimeters or meters, but it's like a 4 or 5 foot diameter Pog mat. What is it, Julian?
It's 160 feet, I guess, and it's 1 meter 10. Brent, you're the one. It's 1 meter and 10 centimeter diameter. So it's 160 something feet or inch.
So you guys are in the UK, so it's just over a meter wide.
Oh, thank you. I know what's going on.
I was going to
Cool.
160 feet. I was like, that's like a small football pitch.
What's this witchcraft we're in about feet? Yeah, I get it now.
That one's coming next.
So I work.
But yeah, it's like 3.5 feet, I guess, something like that, right?
Because I had one of those small ones as a kid, and I remember it really vividly. And when I saw you on that in the car park, I was like, I need one of them for my house, like a big ass rug in the middle of the living room or something.
If you buy two boxes, you will get one pad that will be 26 centimeter diameter. So it's like that. Well, I don't know.
So how many boxes do we buy to get the big one from the car park then? Is that like 15?
20.
Yeah, it's not for sale because we need it for the World Championship. That is
nice.
But our Instagram approach has really been to try to open up the eyes to a huge generation that has no idea what Pogs are, and that is Gen Z. Gen Alpha, who are the kids of the millennials, are maybe being introduced to the brand through their parents if they're hardcore nostalgia or just like love hanging on to their old things, mostly in their parents' attics. But Gen Z has done a really good job. We have some partners that help me with social media, and they come up with great ideas and keep us on trend. So not only are we, it's sort of a juxtaposition between our old 90s nostalgia brand that was around right as the internet was coming up and we were all getting addicted to AOL Instant Messenger. But now these are digital natives, and they're getting to show me how they would approach a brand launch as if it's, a brand new brand, but we're not. So we're getting to sort of like layer in different methodologies to reach people, and that's been really cool.
Yeah, but just to, we don't do marketing. We're not marketers, really. We what we do is we try to bring back a great brand with our passion, and we have a strategy, and the strategy is very clear. But we are not a big corp, and so what is the most important thing is to have fun all together, to make to meet great people, and things happen like that. So we launch a brand, but it's not a brand launch actually. We are just the caretaker of something that exists in every people's heart. And the difference, you talk about all these revival stuff and people like Siga and blah, blah, blah. But, the big difference between Pog and everybody, all the other brands, is that Pog completely disappeared just 5 years. So it was extremely important in everybody's mind and life because, this was like a social, the social game. So this for 4 years, and for these generations, it reminds a lot of things, and then it completely disappeared. It fell away, and they go to something else. So if you look at the reaction on the social media when we post something, it's always the same. It's someone poking someone else. Because ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-crush, sister, brother, cousin, they want to connect them to the people they were playing with. Then the other thing is where I have a collection. Where is it? Wow! And then they call their mother to know, where did you put the collection? Did you throw it away?
It's in the basement.
Yeah,
Brent's
in the
bought them all.
basement, exactly. And so it reminds a very personal stuff. And Kyler has a very personal story that he might share with us, but with the Pog game. And everybody has his own story. But go, Kyler. That the Pog is. Tell us why Pog is so important. I love when you tell. Maybe you don't want, but it's great. It's a great story, and I loved it.
That was a lot of pressure, Julian, to be put on the spot by the owner of Pog. I don't know how you feel wielding that power, because it's
I think he looks pretty happy with it, to be honest with you, Kyler.
Yeah, he's pretty happy with it. It's enough.
I've never seen a man look happy with his decision.
So, this is a dream come true, man. This is everybody, I think, wants to combine their passion with the thing that they're most excited about in their professional life. And I've been lucky enough to do that a few times, but this is by far the most exciting opportunity that I've had. Getting to work every day feels like I'm playing a game. Right, we're building a playground for all of us millennials to come back together, to reconnect around this amazing brand. And what the brand represents is childhood, community, friendship, connection, and collectability. And, you could get really sappy about all the people who maybe didn't feel like they fit in when they were kids, and Pog was the thing that connected them to their peers. And when you're young, you don't realize how important that is. But looking back, you're like, man, that was like when my social life started to blossom, when I started to make friends that I'd hang out with on a daily and, learn to socialize and negotiate and would bite my upper lip and not have my mom knock on your door if you stole my favorite Pog. We learned how to grin and bear it, most of us. So the lessons you learn on the blacktop playing Pogs for keeps really was formative, right? And to get to now come together with a world-class team. I don't know if there's a better person for the chairs that each of these folks is sitting in. Julian has allowed a lot of this to be built by people who are extremely passionate. And, not only did he have the vision to go out and secure the IP because of his childhood, because he was like 20 plus in business school when his dad was making moves with Pog across the European continent. And so for him to go back and utilize all of his success to go dig up a brand that means so much to all of us, first of all, is an amazing, act of, you could call it capitalism, but it's almost more like humanitarian. It's almost like he's bringing something back for so many people, and that is such an amazing thing, right? And he's let us a lot of the tech be built in a way that we really believe. So my team, we've helped build Unity for the last 7 years. We built Google, we helped build Rivian, we helped build Amazon, and a number of other great companies. But we ran into a lot of challenges that the opportunities the blockchain provides, can't be ignored. We wouldn't have been able to scale to what we've created in the technical side without hundreds of millions of dollars in the previous lifetime. Whereas blockchain and Web3 and the ability to build with other people has allowed us to do it for just under a couple $1,000,000, which in the tech world is absolutely insane. We're about to onboard, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people over the next couple years. We have 200 million plus who played Pogs, remember the brand, and as digital collecting and player-owned gaming comes into the future, we're leading that. We've created an API with Amazon. We've created a blockchain with Amazon. We're partnered with Google and Sony and Samsung and CAA and a number of other great companies to help build out our blockchain and ensure that everything we're building is the top-tier security, top-tier functionality, and I just couldn't be more excited. You will never know that you're using blockchain technology. You're not buying some NFT and hoping that it goes up in money so you can sell it to somebody else. Really, none of that matters. It's all about owning your collectible, being able to go into dozens and dozens of different games. If any of those games ever deprecate or break or are no longer serviced, you still own your collectible, and a new game will come along that you can use your collectibles in, or a new way, right? The people who own our digital collectibles, right now they're getting dozens and dozens of prizes every single day, and that's turning into hundreds and thousands of dollars for them. And they don't have to do anything except be a collector, be a part of the community, and absolutely enjoy it. So you can get started for free.
I've dabbled into Vive. They've been doing some quite good stuff there.
We're big fans of Vive and everything they do. Vive is a unique model where you can't take your collectibles out of the ecosystem, where Pog has always believed that you own your assets, and the blockchain allows you to move those into any wallet that you want to. If you follow the regulatory guidelines set up by the US and the country that you're in, then you can move your assets anywhere you want. Whereas Vive, you have to keep them on their platform. You can't pull them into storage or whatever you want to do with them. But we're so excited that people around the world are going to go to play.pogdigital.com. They're going to go to battle.pogdigital.com, start collecting. You're going to see a lot of your favorite collectibles from the 90's in there, from Bugs Bunny and Star Wars and Power Rangers and so forth, that you can play with in a digital landscape. It really is the next evolution of childhood collecting, where yes, everybody, as you can see in my room, I am a massive physical collective person. I love the collectibles. What I love about the digital side is I can play a video game with my friends or against Pogman or against myself and win these physical items. By getting a digital asset, that represents a physical item in many cases. Sometimes it's just a digital benefit you get for having your collectible, but a lot of the times it's a physical item. And that hasn't really been done before in gaming, where you can pull out these physical collectibles from a digital experience. Somebody wants it more than you can sell it to them in a digital format without having to deal with the shipping or the authentication of StockX and all these different pieces. So the most important thing is giving ownership of collectibles and rekindling that nostalgia. And we've made this offering for a lot of game developers to be able to build the same way they already build, but using our Web3 assets. So you'll never know it's Web3, but just know that if you find out, it's for a great reason.
Yeah, I've been following what Pokemon are doing with their new TCG Pocket app, where you can now start collecting your Pokemon cards in a digital format. I know I don't think they're using all the blockchain stuff, but I think that's a good kind of concept that they've launched that's going to generate a lot of interest, and I think it's going to pull in the younger generation into digital collectibles. I don't collect digitally, in all honesty, but I can imagine there's a huge audience that will and do. So it's good to see that Pogs integrating that into their strategy. In terms
Absolutely.
of, you said you're working with Power Rangers in Looney Tunes and all that. Is that still going to continue, and is there going to be any unique partnerships that haven't been done in the past?
Absolutely.
We're excited about the next one. I'll let Julian answer this, but if you let me just drop a little bit of alpha, I'd love to share.
Come on, Julian, give me the goss.
Yeah, this is the part where we try and get as much from you as possible.
Yeah, Yeah, so we have an announcement that we're going to make over the next couple weeks, but we have a collection with the Care Bears coming that will start digitally and transform into a physical element as well. And so we're very, very excited. You'll be able to mint your collectibles directly on the Pog Launchpad, turn around, play with those in the ecosystem, and some of those digital items will have physical rewards as well. So we're very, very excited about that one. But Julian has a number of other partnerships that he's building, and we're just more than excited to be able to be part of that.
So yeah, just to come back on the why Web3, and I will give you some inside, knowledge of what happens and how it came out. When I first acquired that company, there was a licensing agreement going on with a UK company that was, and it was signed before I acquired the company. And this UK company was like a startup, and they wanted to do a video game based on augmented reality. So the idea was you have your phone, you scan your Pog, your physical Pog, and then you have a digital Pog, and then you can play with it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And the partnership didn't go nowhere. They just had like an Indiegogo kind of stuff. And I mean, actually, they didn't do anything with the money they raised. So we had they had customers they had investors that were bad about us and bad about them. So I decided to cut them off. And what we did, and then I had to think over. And then it was like in 19, and let's put it like that. To me, augmented reality is not the right technology for Pog, was not the right technology for Pog, because we are the game you collect. It was the perfect technology for Pokemon, because Pokemon is catch them all. So Pokemon, the DNA of the brand, of the Pokemon brand, is a quest. So when Niantic and Google came with that wonderful technology saying, I can put a digital asset anywhere in the world, like on a cafe, in a house, wherever. I mean, the match with the Pog, the match with when they came with that wonderful technology of putting a digital asset anywhere in the world, then the match with the Pokemon game DNA was perfect, because then you would create, through augmented reality, you would create a worldwide quest of Pokemon. So it makes Pokemon Go. It was just perfect. But then for the game you collect, we had to find the technology that helps to collect, that gives a real collectible value. And that's the Web3. Because it's a code, and because your asset is really a single asset and cannot be duplicated. So I started to go into and to look into this Web3 company, and I had a lot of contact with a lot of people. But at that time the price of minting was so high that it doesn't make any sense. And then Solana came, and then I was fortunate enough to meet Kyler, and then we started. But the Web3 technology is really close to what we do, because it's really we won't do anything without that tech. I mean, I wouldn't go for anything without that technology.
It's really good to hear the physical side of the game and the digital side, because for me, someone that loved Pog and was devastated when it kind of got ripped away from us in terms of just generic 90s trends, it's good to see that you guys are looking at the longevity of the brand in a digital form factor. I'd like to kind of start rounding off the podcast, if that's all right. Is the question I have, is there any other products in the pipeline that you could possibly tell us about? And, people that are interested in the hobby box, that buy the hobby box, what can they look forward to in the future?
So we what we want is to be to make one hobby box per year maximum. So we won't flood the market, and the next hobby box will probably be with another brand. It's not going to be a Pogman hobby box, so it will be a licensed one, and that's to us but that hobby box will be one product, and it will come every year, very in that very craft. Very well done. Then we have a lot of people who cannot afford the hobby box, and we'll try to address them also. But same, in a very adult way. I mean, we are not launching for kids now. We are not launching again. We are working on being on screen first, and we're making great progress here. And because that's where it makes sense for kids.
Will you get back to the days of having the terrible pouch with like sort of 4 or 5, 10 pogs inside of them? Is that something that's kind of like in the future for you guys to, will I walk back? I mean, there aren't many post offices left in the UK anymore, but, if there were, would I be able to walk back into my post office and sort of buy a couple of Mars bars and then a few pogs? I'd say that gets me excited. I'm 34 years old. I'm heading back to being 10 years old when I say that. It's amazing.
Doing that. I mean, you'll probably do that with your kids. I mean, because this is making it a commodity like that, like a small product everywhere, needs huge quantities, and it's a completely different business model. And it's a business model that goes with some awareness among kids, and awareness among kids goes through TV.
Interesting.
But that's why it's interesting. In the 90's, they had that wonderful Pogman character, and they didn't do nothing with that Pogman character. And you know what? And you know why? Because at that time, I mean, it was the case with my father in Europe, or it was the case with Wellington in the UK. It was the case with Pog Unlimited in the US or in Canada. Their only concern was to find cardboard. They couldn't find cardboard anymore. So they didn't really strategize. They didn't really, where the Pokemon people, I mean, they had that game, and then they created their own TV show and stuff like that. So now the big thing here for us is to make Pogman like someone like a character which has a story and which means something for kids.
So Kyla said about playing a video game against Pogman. I mean, have you got plans for like Pogman Kart or Pogman version of Smash Brothers? Is Pogman going to be turning up in Tekken? Like, what kind of... Julian's nodding, but where are we likely to see Pogman, and how might that kind of delve into our world of not retro gaming, but gaming for for 90's kids, I guess?
We hope so. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the idea is to really give the opportunity to third-party developers to be able to build with the Pog IP as well, right? In a way that they can create the games that they're most excited about and utilize the assets that we provide, whether it's from Care Bears or from the PGA Tour or McLaren or whoever it might be in the future. And so it's not necessarily our responsibility to create great games, though the first 4 games in the arcade are built by us. We've created a software that really is absolutely cutting edge. Amazon will be making an announcement about it later this year. We'll be showing it all off at Game Developers Conference next year in San Francisco on the main stage and so forth. And it really is very advanced in the technology world for people to be able to build in the way that they've already been building for years. I think the product, a great way for people to get involved, if for any reason you're not able to afford a collectible digitally or a box physically or whatever, can't find them on the internet, jump into hub.pogdigital.com. It's a free to join platform where you can connect your socials and start questing. You can earn points and start ripping packs day one. And each of those packs contains anything from $1,000 to $2,000 digital collectible. They contain some of these hobby boxes and packs. So you'll be able to get physical items just by being a part of the digital Pog community. And again, no purchase necessary, free to join, free to play game. And you have the opportunity to work your way up the leaderboard, earn coins that can be redeemed directly for all of these physical items that you're looking at and that you're excited about, and the opportunity for us to continue to grow the digital legacy of Pog. So jump in for free and get involved. There's absolutely no risk. We won't ever ask you for anything. You don't have to have a Web3 wallet, just an email, and you can start collecting in the digital space, physical and digital items, and some unique experiences only available to Poggers.
Awesome. Guys, we'll round it off there because Brent probably wants to get to sleep. But we appreciate you all coming on the podcast. It's super appreciated. Me and Seb are very excited to see the reincarnation of Pog and get our hands on some hobby boxes. So thank you all for joining. And finally, when is the hobby box coming out, and where can people go to snag one?
So Pog, the hobby box is available on pogunlimited.com, and they can get 2 hobby box. If they buy 2 hobby box, they can get 1 free pad.
Nice. Perfect.